Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Approach with Caution podcast. I'm your host, Adam Warfel. With us, as always, we got Cody. How's it going, Cody?
Good man, how are you?
I'm doing great. And also with us, we got Alex. What's up, Alex?
How's it going?
It's going good. And today, our special guest is Mr. Seth Fox. Seth
Woo!
is a movie reviewer, and we're going to be talking to him about what he does today. So, first off, we got a lot of traction. So, whatever you are doing out there, you got a great following. And they are showing up and they want to hear exactly what you have to say. So we're excited to dig a little bit into it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited too, and thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
For sure.
So Cody got you onto this episode. So where did you guys start talking? How did you guys meet?
I think just through social media. It's funny because I feel like I've met so many people through social media and like especially in person at like film festivals and stuff now. It's kind of crazy how, you become connected to the online world these days.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to the reviews, when did you start doing reviews? I mean, you've been watching movies your whole life, but when did you say, you know what, I think I'm gonna give my input on this?
During COVID, I saw a couple TikToks of people reviewing movies, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should start talking about films. I've always loved films; it's always been my escape, and I work from home, so I was like, what else can I do with my time while I sit here all day? And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start talking about movies, and that's kind of how the journey started.
Okay. So going back to, way before 2020, Cody knows you mostly from the horror movie stuff that you've
Mhm.
been doing. Do you remember like the first horror movie that you watched?
I don't remember the first horror movie that I ever watched. I remember the first horror movie I saw in a theater, which was Jeepers Creepers, uh, because
Okay.
my dad didn't want to see the horror movie and he let me go into the theater by myself. And this was back when theaters actually cared about if you were under, was it 17 or 18 to see a rated R movie?
Right.
And I got kicked out. So
Oh no!
yeah, so I
Didn't
got
even make it through it.
not the whole thing. But I always say that like, I think I started when I was like 4 watching horror, but Halloween has always been like my like reason for loving horror. That and Scooby Doo.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I got.
that's
I got.
iconic.
I got the DVD right behind me.
Yeah.
The live
So
action. Yep.
so we've kind of talked about movies for a long time and the enjoyment of them. And you have, you said about watching Halloween. The movies that you enjoy, or the franchises that you enjoy, or even the franchises that you don't. How does that play into your factor of reviewing? I mean, you got to go in kind of an unbiased opinion of the movie because obviously Cody's taste isn't my taste isn't
Mhm.
Alex's taste, and ours is all different from yours. So how are you remain like objective to be able to watch all these different kinds of movies and then review on that?
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of my reviews are more positive. And the reason for that is because I pretty much only watch movies that I either know that I might like or that I'm like very interested in. Like there's so many films out there and there's so many that are coming out that it's like it's impossible to watch every single movie and I don't have the time for that. So I pretty much only focus on the things that I know I'm going to be interested in. There are examples where like I know you brought up Halloween. I did not like ends at all. So like
I don't know many people that did.
yeah, like it put a sour taste in my mouth for the franchise. Like I just need Carpenter to come back and make his thing, but I can
Yes.
definitely stay biased on it where it's like if the movie sucks, it sucks, you know?
Right.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, I keep looking down. I got some
No,
notes
you're
here.
good.
We had some people reach out. So there's going to be some fan submitted questions. We're going to hit these out real quick. That way, if anybody else has any questions, we can take a little bit more time and elaborate on those. First one we have: do you have a horror movie hot take? Something that maybe not everybody's going to agree with you, but something you will firmly believe on.
I have two. Uh
Oh.
Yeah, the first one is the 2013 Evil Dead is the best Evil Dead in the franchise. That's one of my favorite Evil Dead films.
Yeah.
And this one's gonna piss a lot of people off. But I think the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the best Texas Chainsaw film.
Okay. Well, I will go to our horror guy, Cody, to see what the agreement or disagreement is there.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that one, Cody?
It's crazy because I agree fully. Like, because I think I was born in '96, so I wasn't there. I wasn't around for like the first Evil Dead, or like I never watched like, the originals with Bruce Campbell or anything like that. But 2013 was there, and I was like, man, are they all like this? And then when I went back and saw they weren't all like that, I was kind of like, well, that's a bummer. But and then the 2003 Texas Chainsaw, that was another one that I was right in that age group where I probably shouldn't have been watching it, but I like was latched onto it because I was like, this is gory. I was like, this is cool.
Mhm.
Oh, this is really neat. So I mean, I don't even really think it's a hot take anymore. Kind of like the 2009 Friday the 13th is the best one.
Yeah.
Like I feel like at first everybody was like, you're nuts. That's crazy. But now I think people are starting to lean into it more as like, you know what? They might have been right this whole time.
They're great films, especially that Texas Chainsaw. Like, that's the scariest Leatherface. Like, that dude is menacing in that movie, and I just like how gritty it is. And same with the 2013. Like, Jane, she just puts on one hell of a performance, and I love that movie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
The
I
only
agree
one-
wholeheartedly.
Yeah, the only one I've seen was it's definitely a remake. It was like it was the one where like I guess Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like her cousin or something, and they like
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
3D.
is that that one?
Yeah, I think it's
That's
like
the only one
3D.
I've seen. I've gotta go back and watch the other ones.
You definitely have to watch the other ones. They're
Yeah.
pretty good.
So
Some of
going back to that where kind of everybody has a different opinion, is there a movie that does get a lot of credit or something that everybody, pans over that you're not a big fan of? Something where it's like, oh, everybody enjoys this, but it's not my taste. I just don't like the way it was produced. Is there something that has a lot of overhype?
I'm trying to think of something recently that Weapons. I didn't like Weapons as much as other people. I thought it was just fine. I definitely prefer Barbarian over Weapons, and I'm very excited for his Evil Dead or his I can't Evil Dead and fuck, what's the movie that he's got coming out? Is it Evil Dead? Resident Evil. Resident
Yeah,
Evil.
Resident Evil.
I was
Oh,
like-
yes. Yeah,
I keep
I'm
getting them
excited for that
confused.
one.
There's so many.
Yeah.
It's like hard to really pinpoint like who's
Yeah.
I
doing
feel
what
like
now.
a lot of people have that same like opinion about Weapons too. Like everyone I talk to, like they'll reference the movie or they'll like talk about it, like like I really didn't care for it, like it wasn't that great. But some, a lot of people, like it. I've heard a lot of negative reviews about it.
Yeah.
So.
It was just fine. I don't know. I didn't get the hype around it. I thought it was just too overhyped for me. And I also this is kind of more of a hot take too, but Jordan Peele, I love Get Out the most. I did not like Nope. I know a lot of people like Nope. I was like expecting it to be way scarier. I don't you've all seen Nope, right?
Mhm.
I haven't. I've seen
Oh, you
Us
haven't?
and Get
Okay.
Out.
Then
You
I
won't
won't
spoil
say
it for me. Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it. That's
I
fine.
was gonna say the alien scene with the kids I thought was the scariest part of the movie. And I was expecting that throughout, and it wasn't like that. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I get what they were going for, but I thought that thing was just overhyped, and I still think Get Out is his best film.
Yeah, Adam has a solid 3 horror movies that he's gonna see his whole life.
Yeah, nothing
Right.
else.
Yeah, I got my go-tos, man. So like we all have our little thing that we do. Cody's the horror guy, so I'll never, even if I started now and replaced my actual job with watching horror movies, I don't know if I'd ever catch up. But so another one, how long into a movie is it for you to write off a movie? Because I know a lot of people will be like, the first 15 minutes are the most important. You're gonna get hooked. You're gonna enjoy this movie. How long into a movie do you start to write it off if nothing's picked up, if nothing's going on, or if you just straight up don't like it?
I pretty much I don't think there is a time limit for me. It's just like, because sometimes the last like 10 minutes of the movie could be the best part. So I don't really have like a time where I'm just like, oh, this is just like horseshit until like the very end after I've seen it. But for the most part, there's something that I can find that I enjoy in most movies. But yeah, I don't think I have like a set time where I'm just like, oh, I'm turning this off, or I'm just, it lost me.
Okay. Another one, is there a film that the first time you hated it, you didn't like, but after more viewing, you did like, that you came around on?
Yes, and it was recent, Tenet. I saw Tenet twice before, just at home because I bought it I think that one came out during COVID, and I was like, yeah, I don't understand this. This is fine. And then I think a month or two ago, I saw it at the Aero Theater here in LA, and it was Dolby. Like the sound was perfect. It was in 70 millimeter, and it was a completely different experience. It was like a completely new movie to me, and I was like, oh, this movie actually is insane, and it's super sick. So it became my top 3 favorite Nolan film.
Wow.
So the next one we got, are audiences being too easily influenced by reviews and stuff that they see online, such as like the preview or anything? Do you think a lot of people now, as opposed to before, are going online, checking the reviews instead of just going to see the films?
I think it's a mix of things. I don't necessarily think it's like deterring them. I think the same, like the formulaic films that we've been getting, you know, like the Marvel universe. Like I used to love the Marvel universe, and I was more excited for Spider-Man than I am for Doomsday. And I love Spider-Man. That was great. But I feel like we're kind of being fed a lot of, you know, mediocre films and with these like big events. Whereas there are still a lot of great like indie films that are being overlooked, but I don't think it's dissuading anybody. I think it's just like people are getting sick of seeing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Definitely, for sure. And we talked about that a lot, you know, going to like conventions and horror con and stuff, and, you know, talking to a lot of like, you know, indie horror like filmmakers and stuff. And, you know, that's pretty much like been the talk of like the horror scene lately, is trying to come up with better ideas and, you know, stir away from like the big productions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because the stuff that's coming out now, indie, is, I mean, it's blown it. I'd rather see that than go seeing a motion picture.
100%. There's so many great indie films out there, and like I've been going to Fantastic Fest. I'm going to TIFF next month, and there's a lot of indie like horror and like rom-coms and things like that that I think just deserve just as much love. And some of them are even like better made because there's a lot of heart into it. It's not just like a studio has all these notes and it becomes something completely different.
I feel that way with shorts. Like there's a lot of short films that are like better than like 2 hour, like hour and 45-minute long films, like blockbuster films. Like they hit like closer to home. I think the one is like Portrait of God, I think it's called.
Yeah.
There's one called Fireplace, and I'm like, these are like so good. Like of course they're gonna have like the cheesiness depending on if it's filmed on like iPhone or whatever, but it hits harder because I feel like there's more care put into it versus just getting a hefty check handed to you and being like, okay, make something.
Yeah. And you never realize too how much like a studio interferes with the movie. Like sometimes directors will be able to make the film that they want to make, but then, you know, they'll add in notes and like, oh, you got to change this. And once those notes become too much, that movie completely changes what it was originally going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So going with that, towards the genre of movie, like every movie genre has subgenres. So if we're talking horror, do you have a go-to? Like, do you want to see a gory horror movie? Do you want to see a paranormal horror movie? Do you want to see, you know, a realistic horror movie? What's your kind of horror movie go-to?
Slashers and creature features. I love a good creature feature, especially shark movies. I love sharks, and so I'm still waiting for another good shark movie. We haven't had one since The Shallows, but yeah, I love creature features and I love slashers.
Okay. If you could give like a top 3, now obviously it's hard to say, okay, these are the best movies of all time, but a top 3 kind of your favorite movies, or something that people should, if they haven't seen by now. Obviously your video library, you've seen far more than a lot of people. Is there something a lot of people mainstream haven't seen that they should go out and check out?
So trying to think what would be a couple recommendations that I have for movies that I don't think had as much exposure. One of them is The Guest with Dan Stevens and Micah Monroe, where supposedly it's a sequel. We're getting Onslaught coming out in a few months, and I urge people to go see The Guest because that movie kicks so much ass. Another one, if you have a Shudder subscription, or if you don't, you could just like sign up for like a free trial, but there's this movie on there called Vicious Fun. That's like a horror comedy that is absolutely fantastic. It's like this kid gets drunk at a bar and he passes out and he ends up waking up and stumbles into this like AA meeting, but it's an AA meeting for serial killers.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
And it's hilarious. And I'm trying to think if I have like a third one. I feel like those two are ones that I like highlighting because not a lot of people talk about those. And You're Next, another Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. I love that slasher.
That's a really good film too.
Mm-hmm.
So going through the movies that you've seen, is there one that you have like I lost it? I had it and I lost it. Till I get it back. Cody or Alex, do either of you guys have a question?
Go ahead, Alex, if you have anything.
So when you're reacting to movies, do you go into it with an expectation, or do you kind of just like, do you watch the trailer first, or do you like not watch the trailer, and when you're making your videos, do you just film the reaction and then that's it, or do you kind of like go in with a open mind?
Are you saying like for like if like a trailer reaction or for like a reaction to like me seeing a movie?
Like yeah. Like if you're doing a review on, oh okay, yeah. Like when
Yes.
you watch movies, do you watch trailers first, or do you kind of just like?
I
'Cause a lot
definitely
of
watched
people
the
don't.
trailer. Yeah, a lot of people don't. I watched the trailer first. There are some movies where I haven't seen the trailer and I've gone into the movie and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Especially for
Mhm.
like TIFF. I have TIFF coming up next month. Most of the movies there don't have trailers out yet, so I'm kind of like going in blind. Um, I think the trailer sometimes like sets, it shows a lot of the best things, but it also like doesn't deter me in a way. Like I'm kind of like a psycho when it comes to this. I know a lot of people hate doing this, but for like certain things, I like reading the spoilers because it's like, oh, I could go see this movie. Like if there's something that I don't think that I might necessarily like in a film, I'll look it up. Like especially for horror, like I don't necessarily hate, but like it's hard for me to watch just straight up brutal horror where it's like the meanest thing you've ever seen. So like sometimes I'll Google like the plot synopsis or like see what the plot's about before I'm like, oh, I can actually sit through this, and it doesn't really ruin the experience for me, which is nice.
I had to do that for a Good Boy. I wanted to see it so bad, and there's a small theater in a town by us called Emmaus. It's the Emmaus Theater. It's probably like 150 cap room,
Yeah.
very old. And they got a screening of Good Boy for like a week or a couple days, and I looked it up because I'm like, I want my wife to go see it, but if something happens to that dog, it's game over. It's gonna ruin her like entire month. So I went on, and I'm like, okay, good. Nothing happens, but there's some like flash imagery of like stuff where like he looks in distress, but then I showed her like the behind the scenes of how it was done and how it took them so long to make it. So the dog was actually fine, and it ended up being one of my like favorite films of that year.
It was so good.
So
yeah, I'm the same way.
you kind of alluded to it. I remembered my train of thought, but you kind of answered it there where you'd like to see the spoilers. My question is, when you go to see a movie, if there's like a twist or something going on, if you've tried to figure it out, do you mostly go towards seeing the spoilers, or do you like to watch a movie and try to figure it out yourself, or are you just along for the ride the whole time?
I like trying figuring it out for myself in the movie and being along for the ride. And till that very end, you're like, oh shit, this is what's going on. And that's pretty much what happened with Tenet, because I literally could not understand that movie for the life of me. And then rewatching it, seeing it in a theater and being like focused and not being able to look on my phone whatsoever, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. This is actually really cool.
So with your reviews, have obviously copyright's a big thing, right? So it's probably a little easier to do an independent review than a mainline review. Has there ever been any issues with licensing or anything like that that you've had to overcome difficulties of like not being able to post or not being able to share it? Has anything like that ever come up?
Only for trailer reactions. That's pretty much it. For reviews, nothing really. I've had somebody DM me that they said I should take my review down.
Oh my gosh.
For which I get because it was an indie film, but it was just not good, and I didn't like it. But that's pretty much the only thing I've ever had come across.
So,
Do people like rage like in the comments like, "Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong."
Oh yeah, I get that all the time. I get called some
Yeah,
pretty nasty
sure.
things, but I'm just like, they are hiding behind a computer. I'm like, it's good engagement, so it doesn't really affect me, and like I was bullied in high school and stuff like that. So it's like, whatever they say isn't going to be that bad.
So you kind of alluded to it with somebody emailing you about taking it down. Have you ever been to one of these film festivals or any conventions or anything where somebody has possibly seen a review and it wasn't as favorable, or it was favorable, and they came up to you and were like, hey, let's have a disagreement about this, or hey, thank you for the, the review of the film. Has that ever happened out in public where you've been recognized for what you're doing?
A few times actually, recently, which is kind of crazy to me, where it's like somebody will come up to me and it's like, hey, I love seeing your stuff, things like that. I haven't had anybody like come up to me and like say like my opinion is wrong or anything like that. It's more so just like, I've seen your videos, like it's awesome to meet you kind of thing. It doesn't happen a lot, but I've had it happen a few times, which was cool enough.
It's always
Yeah,
the
I would
best.
say.
Yeah.
Even if it's negative, I'd be like, oh, he watched my video.
Yeah.
So when you go out to these and you watch things, do you take what you see there and go back and try to help anybody? Has anybody ever asked, like, what is there that we could do different or anything like that? Have you ever been part of like a focus group to see, or like a reaction or a trial screening or anything like that?
Nothing like that yet. I was actually recently asked. I have a friend who's making a movie, and they were talking about setting up like a table read to give notes and things like that. So that might be in the future, but I haven't been asked anything like that yet.
Okay. So when you got started, you said you did this over COVID, and kind of the world was at a lull for a little bit there. How long was it before you started to see traction? And what was kind of the first time where you were like, wow, this is really taking off. I'm going to keep running with this?
I don't know if I have like an exact moment, but I have a moment from so right after COVID ended, I applied to Fantastic Fest just by myself. I was like, I saw that it had a bunch of movies that I was really interested in seeing, and I was like, you know what? I got nothing better to do. Let's go to this film festival. I applied as press, and I got approved, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's see what this is about. So I applied as press. I got in, got an Airbnb. I like worked in the morning and then went to the screenings in the afternoon. I got an email while I was there to do an interview with Francis Galuppi for his film Last Stop in Yuma County. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. So I got emailed to go interview him. I did that. We hit it off and we're good friends now. But I didn't know I could interview people. And like getting that email kind of set off this like trajectory of like me going to do all these types of interviews now and applying to red carpets and sending massive amounts of emails every day to try to get, more access, things like that. So I think that was the biggest moment for me where it like clicked, where I was like, oh, I could actually like do a lot of the things I've always dreamed about. I didn't really know that that was even an option.
So with you doing interviews, has there been a person, maybe not even a super top tier person, but like somebody who you thought was either a very interesting guest or somebody you learned a lot about, that you would recommend people go back and, look up that interview?
I would say my interview either with Drew Hancock, who did Companion, or my interview with Kimball Farley. Those are both like an hour, and it was like they were just like the best conversations I've ever had. I just basically just like shot the shit with them the entire time, and we talked about their movies, their craft, and things like that. But it kind of just like came off as just like a general conversation, and we just kept talking and talking. And another one that I'm really proud of is the one that I did with and why am I blanking on his name right now? Timothy Oliphant. It's pinned on my Instagram, but that was like the coolest interaction. He was so nice. And I was just not expecting that, because he wasn't even doing the carpet and he was behind me. And I was like, Timothy, can I please talk to you for a second? And he's like, what do you want? And just like jumped in the frame, and yeah, the rest is history. So those
That's
three.
awesome. That's so cool.
So with doing the red carpets, I've seen a few on, YouTube and things like that. And the press is usually, I don't want to say unfriendly, but they need to get their shot. What's the balance of, you're there to do your job, but you also kind of can't get pushed so far out of frame? How do you balance that with working with other people who are essentially trying to do the same job you are?
It depends on what the movie is or where it's being held. So like I just did the other day, Idiots. So I got to talk to like Dave Franco, Mason Thames, and a few others. And that one, there was only 4 other outlets there doing carpet interviews. So there's way more room to kind of like navigate. But like, say for instance, for TIFF, like I won't be able to get myself in the frame. Like maybe there's a way, but there's just so many people on the carpet. So it's mostly just me having my mic out. You'll see the logo and me asking them questions. For the most part, everybody around you is just trying to get at least just one question out of somebody. So I've never really had any like bad issues with that.
So with you, kind of everybody has their mic, is what you were saying. Everybody's got their microphone out.
Mhm.
How hard is it to post different content when everybody kind of gets the same answers? How, what routes do you have to take? Do you post them at different times, or how do you separate yourself from what everybody else is doing?
So sometimes they actually will group, like there'll be like four of us and we all have to ask one question, like if they're running out of time with the talent. So like at TIFF last year, there was a lot of that where, four of us will be like, hey, let's all pick one question that we want to ask them. And we kind of just like work together on that. If it's, each person gets their own question, I just try to think of something that I know nobody's asked before. And like I know with the carpets, a lot of people try to go for things that are going to get clicks and things like that. But I'm more interested to hear about like their process, what drew them to the role, things like that. So there are times where I'll ask them, something about an upcoming project or something like that. But I'd rather just get like a good answer from them and try to come up with something that I know isn't what somebody else asked.
Right. And they're more likely to enjoy and answer a question like that. I know
Mhm.
when we were up for Scaricon, Cody and I got to interview Kane Hodder, and instead of bringing up Friday the 13th, he jumped into Hatchet.
Oh,
And
cool.
Kane Hodder went out on a whole tangent about that.
Mhm.
And after, he's like, I don't really talk too much about that. So yeah, I assume it's way easier to answer a question that you haven't answered 40 times that day already.
Mhm.
When you go out, is there a question that you think gets over asked, or just something like, what is the most ridiculous question that you've heard asked? Because I hear questions sometimes that I'm like, I can't believe a reporter asked that.
Yeah.
Have you ever been taken back by somebody just asking something so ridiculous?
Yes. The first premiere I ever attended was Twisters, and I got to do the red carpet for that. And one of the people asked the director what Glenn Powell smelled like.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So,
Huh.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Not
I don't think
often
I've
on
been too
stages.
concerned with how the people have smelled that I've interviewed, but
Mhm.
hey, teaches on, I guess.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's an all timer. Yeah. Now I
Yep.
guess we're gonna have to work that in when we start going on the road.
Mhm.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have to start asking that
Yeah.
question too.
Yeah. I will
Yeah.
say too, it's not necessarily like it can be framed in a bad way, but a lot of people, especially when I was at Comic-Con doing a lot of the round tables and things like that, a lot of people have been asking about AI and how like they feel about AI. And I feel like there's better questions that can be asked because like everybody feels very different on that subject.
Mhm.
And like that's not something that the director really wants to talk about. Like they're there to talk about their movie. And I don't know what it was that they asked specifically, but I remember that the PR person came over to the table and was like, "We can't ask that question." So like there are certain things like where it's just like, "What are you doing?" Like use your time wisely and ask like questions that are going to be like fruitful. Whether like it was just a quick question. It was like, "Hey, what do you think of AI? Are you going to use it? Do you like it?" And I'm just like, "Come on."
I think
So
that's
with
happening with Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. Like me and Alex and my wife saw it, and like unfortunately you see the reviews and stuff, but I went into it like, okay, it's Eli Roth,
Mhm.
Hostel, Thanksgiving, had that like in my mind, so I went in thinking it was going to be along those, when it ended up being something completely out of his wheelhouse.
Mhm.
And like I thought the kills were great, but like it kind of like lost me near like the story end and how in depth it got. I just didn't think it fit the mold. But now all you see is it about Eli Roth used AI for this. He used it for this. It's like if I got the chance to talk to him, I would be like, what made you want to switch from what you were used to creating to this whole new idea? Just to hear
100%, and that's like warranted because I mean Thanksgiving was so good and that was all
Mhm.
practical. I'm like, how do you go from that to this?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So going with that, you said, one of their people came over and said, well, we can't answer that question. Has there ever been a time where like you've asked a question and because of an NDA, you had to go a certain way about it? Or has anybody come up to you and say, hey, in advance, we're not allowed to talk about X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's an upcoming film or something that's about to be screening or something, has there ever been a time where like people haven't been able to comment and you've had to work around that?
Nothing, thankfully, nothing yet. And like like I said, I try to make my questions like very like thoughtful and something that they can answer. So I've never really run into it where like they've gotten like upset or like asked me to like do another question. Nothing like that, thankfully.
Have you ever seen anybody get mad at a question? I mean, obviously there's the funny one where it's like, what does this person smell like? But
Mhm.
have you ever seen anybody just absolutely go off on a question that's been asked?
Nope, thankfully.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
You're so lucky, man.
Not yet.
Yeah. Not yet.
Okay. Cody, I know you've known Seth for a little bit now. You've been talking to him. Do you have any more questions for him?
I think I had one coming up in my head, but I feel like it was answered because we have so many like good ones that like I had on the back of my mind. But with us going to like Alex and I are going to Monster Mania this weekend in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Robert Englund's going to be there, Doug Bradley, all these guys like that. If you are able to acquire a press pass for something, how do you go into it? Do you like make your questions down, or do you kind of go in and just see how like the ball rolls when you're interviewing the person to like get them comfortable and yourself while asking a question?
I try like a lot of the conventions that I've attended, I haven't been able to really ask like the talent questions. It's more like the people attending and like the fans and things like that. But if I like knew I had an interview, say with like Robert Englund, I would probably come up with like one or two things beforehand. Because this is kind of like more of an open setting. So I would try to come up with one or two things beforehand. And then, when the conversation starts, kind of just go off based on what he's saying. Because I know, you're familiar with Nightmare on Elm Street and things like that. So there's a lot to work with there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just got, I think it was about like 2 years ago. I went down to New Jersey Horror Con and I got to sit with Lachlan Monroe from Scary Movie.
Oh, yeah.
I got to, we became close with the Levy brothers, Michael and Jason, who did from Fuzz on the Lens and everything. So getting to like talk to those guys has kind of like made us more comfortable in the situation as to like, they're just people, you know what I mean? They're just like you and me, but they're masters of their craft. So we're always just trying to find a way to make it easier on them and also us to make good content and have great questions.
They're just like you said, they're just like us. They love talking about their craft. They love talking about movies, and they're there just to like have fun and meet people who like their stuff. So I always treat it like, people always ask me, it's like, how do you do a good interview? Like, what should I do? And I say, just like, think of it as talking to your friend. What they do is a job just like what we do. Like we have 9 to 5s. It's just their job, but they do it because they love it. And so that's something like, just think of this conversation as you talking to your best friend about a movie you loved.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Definitely.
And I think the follow-up question, my last question that I'll actually have is, when you guys were doing the Dark Screen Society, I actually was at work and I looked up, I was like, okay, I need a podcast that just like reviews movies. Cause like I listen to wrestling podcasts, I listen to all that stuff. And I'm like, there's gotta be something for like horror films. And I forget which one it was. I think it was the Creature Features one, whichever one you talked about seeing underwater.
Yeah, Creature Features.
I literally was like, that sounds like really freaking cool. So like I went home that night and I told my wife, I was like, hey, we're gonna watch this movie. It's on Hulu. We have it. And I was like, all right, this man understands my taste. I'm gonna listen to him from here on out. With spooky season right around the corner, do you have like Tubi, Netflix, Hulu recommendations for films that people should check out?
Oh crap. I don't know like off the top of my head what's on what. I would say definitely watch Underwater because that is like my comfort film now. I freaking love that movie and I watch it so many times. It is underrated as hell. I would say though, like if you had to pick one service, I feel like Shudder has the most bang for your buck during spooky season. Tubi does have a lot of stuff as well, which is great. And Netflix, they don't have as much like horror, but they have one movie on there called The Ritual that I will always recommend.
That movie's really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. So I would say that, or their horror shows like Midnight Mass or Haunting in Hill House, things like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Alex, you got any other questions?
Yeah. So doing reviews and and posting content and stuff, and your love for movies and stuff. Is there anything like beyond YouTube and beyond interviewing? Is there like writing scripts or writing, stuff for movies because you're so, into it?
Mhm.
Is there any like the next step?
I really want to turn this into like a full-on outlet, kind of like an IGN or Collider. That's like the main goal with According to Seth. I would say I love writing and I love writing reviews. And before I did all this, I really wanted to write a book for the longest time. So maybe writing a script one day. I definitely don't want to direct or act. I feel like that just like way outside my wheelhouse. I'm more interested in like hearing how the process is and hearing what goes through their minds, things like that. But writing would be something I think I could do in the future.
Nice. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, so for the people who want to be doing what you do, kind of what, your reviews and things like that, if there's one piece of advice that you could give them, somebody watching, or somebody who's been watching you, what's one piece of advice you would have for them?
I would say go to film festivals. I think it is one of the best ways to get your foot in the door because like for example, for TIFF, they just sent out, I applied as press, I got approved, and yesterday they sent out an email with all the press contacts for the entire film festival to reach out to set up interviews and things like that, attend the screenings. So I would say if you can, I know it's, most of the time you get a free pass. If you apply as press, you don't get like anything else covered. So it is more expensive. But if you're really wanting to do this, I think going into a film festival and getting that access, it makes it easier to meet some of the people that will help you down the line set up interviews. And especially with like the big studios. Like I went to Overlook a few years ago and I met the marketing team for Universal Pictures and have been going to events for them because of that. So it opens up a lot of doors.
Okay. So kind of like marketing, get out there and just go do it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could tell all of our followers where they could find you, Instagram, your Facebook, YouTube, wherever you like to be found, wherever you're posting content, just let them know where you're at.
Yeah, so it's at According to Seth. It's the same on Instagram and TikTok. Those are pretty much the main places I post. And then if you want to watch some of my full interviews, those are all over on YouTube, also at According to Seth. And it's all one word. And then a lot of the clips from my interviews and stuff like that go on Instagram and TikTok. And all the breaking news stuff goes over on Instagram. I love doing posts like that. That's been really fun.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Seth, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for watching. For Alex, Seth, Cody, and I, thank you for tuning into Approach with Caution podcast. We'll see you guys back here next week, and we hope you enjoyed the show.